May we remind you to switch off all electronic equipment till you are inside the...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sugarman International Airport, Kathmandu, Nepal. Attention please.
Today's guest is Rahul Chaudhary, Managing Director at CEO at the CG Corp Global and the CG Hospitality Holding. I understand the Chaudhary or CG Group is one of the biggest conglomerate in Nepal, having 100 of the subsidiary, 100 of the brand. But for those who are not familiar with the CG Group, would you like to introduce a little bit about the background and the history of your family group?
Sure, David. No, thank you so much again for having me on your podcast show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I did see your very interesting background in itself.
Right.
And I was very intrigued to connect with you because I love connecting with like-minded people and spreading the message of perhaps a little bit of success that we, in our own modest way, may have experienced. But just a little bit about the group. You know, we are almost 150-year-old family-owned group. Our roots are from Rajasthan in India, where some of the leading entrepreneurs all over the world have originated through a community called the Marwaris. And my great-grandfather moved here to Nepal over 100 years back, together with my grandfather, and he started with textile, and that was the first entry into Nepal. And they used to sell textile to the erstwhile royal family in those days. And then my grandfather got into construction, as I mentioned, of the first hotel here, and still a very well-known hotel called Solti at that point in time. And then, you know, rest is history. I think the group has evolved over a period of time. Humbly so, if I may submit, you know, we are a group with over 15,000 employees. We are spread across 30 to 35 different countries. We do indeed have more than 70 different brands. And we have about 12 different business verticals, all the way ranging from FMCG, where we have multiple brands. And our biggest brand is YY, noodles, as the world would know. And hence the name, the Noodle King, for my father and chairman.
Yep.
We are also into telecom. I won't get into the details. I think I'll just touch upon the verticals. We are in telecom, into electronics, hospitality, real estate, cement, infrastructure. What else? As I can remember the few things that's coming to
sounds like everything. Sounds like everything.
Well, we do try to, through our group's objective, we do try to touch lives every day in every way, you know. That is our objective, and we are working towards it. And I think, we do have a vision, for sure, the group from Nepal, and we are working on that.
Yes, I understand the business portfolio is very comprehensive. What are the main business your group is focused on now?
Right now, our focus all over the world is in, there are 3 or 4 verticals. One is our FMCG, that is the growth of our brand, you know, Noodles YY.
Yes.
And we are looking at lots of M&A opportunities all across the world to grow our footprint as well. Even manufacturing facilities, actually. Right now, we have a manufacturing facilities in India, in Nepal, Kazakhstan, in Serbia, in Bangladesh, and we are setting up another one in Egypt. And we are looking at some opportunities in Russia and CIS countries as well for FMCG. Our second growth vertical is hospitality. At the moment, we have about 141 hotels all over the world in 12 different countries, about 8 to 10,000 different keys. And the third vertical is our financial services. As I mentioned, that financial services is one of our priority businesses. And we are constantly also moving on that path to look at more opportunities. The fourth would be telecom. We also acquired the second largest telecom company in Moldova, Molcel. And now we are looking at acquiring more such opportunities in different parts of the world. So I would say these are the four sectors of our focus growth areas across the globe.
Yeah, very interesting and very comprehensive. And also I can feel that your activity are very business activity, very international. More I can feel the more international than the Korean group.
Yeah, I mean, we have definitely spread our wings, but our business model is slightly different, David. You know, if you really look at the countries that we are in, of course, we are in some of the larger countries as well, but we are in countries which are frontier markets and growing markets.
Yes.
Markets such as East Africa, Serbia, Bangladesh, Nepal. I mean, these are all markets that are frontier markets that have a huge potential to grow in the future. There is a limited barrier to entry. Now, I mean, there are barriers to entry, no doubt, but there are limited than some of the developed economies around the world. And that's what we are good at. And that's how we have grown our...
I totally agree, because your experience in Nepal by growing the business in Nepal are more relevant to those countries, right? For example, we had that discussion with the other entrepreneurs, business owner, and investor. For example, the company entrepreneur who has experience growing the business in Silicon Valley and New York, his experience is not really relevant to the frontier market because very different infrastructure. And then they don't have patience, right? And then their tolerance level is very low, right?
You hit the nail in the head, my friend. I think the patience and tolerance is something one needs to have in a sort of a banana republic, as they call it.
Right.
And where the systems are pretty nimble, where the processes are, I would say, not very straightforward. I mean, all countries like Korea, for example, you have one window for various processes to be followed. You have a very set system. Singapore, for another example. So, but having said that, those are the opportunities as well, right?
Right.
I mean, that's how you work with the system to manage some of these areas, because in an underdeveloped country, the processes and systems are also evolving. Right. And while they are trying to learn and evolve with time and experiences, that's how you bring the processes and systems in place.
Right. Like we had that discussion with a lot of other guests. As I told you, in the developed world, their business model focusing on the disrupting one or 2 points. That's a business model. But in the frontier market is a business model, how to grow build the infrastructure and ecosystem from the scratch. So I can, yeah.
No, I mean, you see, disruption is something that is going to be, it's a non-stop process now. I think, we've also started, CG has also started looking at each of our business as a disruptor in the future. I mean, there could be a possibility that some of our verticals is going to be non-existent in the future.
Yes.
You don't even know what is going to happen. So one has to evolve with time. That's what technology is all about. That's what the changing times is all about. But having said that, I think one needs to also bring about the disrupting factors within these verticals first.
Yes.
Before you even become relevant,
Right. I agree. So, totally.
And in a third world country, this is even more relevant because you're starting with a clean slate, right? I mean, you're starting with a clean slate and you are looking at your businesses also from that perspective.
Yeah, actually, that's related to my next question, because your group has business and education, telco, hospital and banking. This is a most popular industry and sector, like a venture capital, startup, entrepreneur, other part of world. And this is an industry first sector to disrupt because highly regulated, so license-driven business. Once you get the license, for example, telco, 3 or 4 telco company get a license, you build the same, tower, same the infrastructure, and then you use the same spectrum. Then user like consumer like us becoming the like prisoner because we don't have an option to not to use this service provider. That's so people think that this is the sector, first sector disrupt with the technology or the new business model. So have you thought about the innovation on a high level about this fourth sector you are running at the moment?
You see, David, this is also relevant when you talk about investors coming into these sectors such as your telecom, banking, financial services, and education. You're absolutely right that these are perhaps the first sectors for disruption as well as for investors.
Yes.
But it also depends on where you are. It's a chicken and egg situation. If you are a company, if you have a financial services company, education, and telecom, let's just say in a country like Singapore and Hong Kong, which is much more developed, the perception of private equity players and investors is very different than something that of having those in a country like Nepal.
Right.
You see, so I think the perception of investors slightly needs to change as well. I believe there are private equity players who are too focused on the developed economies than being focused on the developing economies like Nepal, for example, because your growth opportunities are much more. Your capital deployment is usually lower because your valuations are usually lower than what you would have in a mature economy. So I would definitely agree with what you are saying, but it's a question of geography and where you are based. And fortunately or unfortunately, we are in countries which are still developing. So the risk appetite or the focus appetite of investors for these countries are limited till now, which I hope will change over time.
I agree with that part because frontier market is more. What is more important is the market, not about the
Correct.
technology. Market and customer base, right? If you are, the top of the ecosystem, then you can cross sell everything, and you can disrupt, introduce new technology. But only with the technology, there is nothing you can do about it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, and you are absolutely correct that customer base and market is the most important, and you have to first be able to develop that ecosystem yourself. If you are able to develop that ecosystem yourself, then money will follow. My father always says that you have a great idea, money will follow.
That's a great expression. I love that actually. If you chase money, if you chase the fish, you never get that, right?
Always going to be, one thing I will tell you, David, that which I've also learned from my father is that never undersell yourself, and there will always be someone who's going to value your business. So never undersell yourself either. It's a question of timing. It's a question of when is the right time for you and for the parties outside to look at you. And we are okay. CG in itself is growing organically. We are growing. Each of our verticals, as I mentioned, is growing in our own way. We are virtually a debt-free company on the corporate balance sheet. So that's how we function as a company, and we continue to grow through our internal earnings, and we are okay.
Yes, I call it the ecosystem owner, not a sales guy, right? Ecosystem owner. Then you can do whatever, right? Later on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And next question is how COVID-19 has impacted your business or the investment approach?
Well, obviously, it's no hidden truth that COVID has obviously changed the way we look at the world. I think it is going to permanently change the way we look at business and evaluate business and pursue business opportunities. and also in terms of structuring your businesses. What has happened is since the last year in March, when COVID was prevalent to a great extent in Nepal, we decided to do a complete, as you would say, an autopsy of all our businesses to see where are the low-hanging fruits, to see where there's a lot of fat, where one can cut down the cost structures, where one can leverage the revenue potential areas, different business models, thinking outside the box, and I think that's what we have done for the past year. I mean, I've always said in many of such opportunities where I've been able to speak that I look at COVID as an opportunity in every way.
Agree.
Every way I look at COVID as an opportunity, and everyone, it's a three-pronged process which we followed. First process was to survive. Second was to revive. Third was to thrive.
Yes.
I think what we did is that we were on a survival mode. We were getting on a revival mode. Unfortunately, because of the second wave which has come in, now we are again back to survival mode. But survival mode this time has become easier than what it was last year, because we were able to get prepared for the eventuality in the future. And by restructuring, by rethinking, reimagining everything, we worked really hard to bring it to this point. And I must say that, I mean, I'll give you some examples, David. I mean, just in the four sectors that we talked about. I mean, hospitality. Let's talk about hospitality. We were the largest hospitality group in India to have opened the largest number of hotels last year during COVID. We opened almost 15 hotels last year. I mean, here people are shutting hotels left, right, and center, and we've opened 15 hotels because the business model and our focus of the segment that we were doing in hospitality was not something that the investors would not look at. They are more looking at companies which are more price and cost conscious to manage their businesses. Number two, when you talk about telecom, we stepped into the telecom business and last year. And you see, data has become the way of life. Forget about making calls now mobile to mobile. Mobile call is made through data, WhatsApp or your WeChat or whatever it is. So, and more so in countries where there is less competition, you capitalize the market more. Something like what I said about multinational. Thirdly, in terms of the banking. In terms of the banking, Nepal's stock market is going through the roof. I mean, our market has gone up more than 500-600%, and it continues to grow because everyone wants to spend money. Sitting at home, they want to do e-commerce and they want to spend money. They want to invest because if you are sitting at home, where else are you going to make money? Tell me, are you going to develop projects? No. Are you going to put up plants? No. So the one place which is secure and for you to be able to focus on is the capital market. And you will see capital markets all over the world are also expanding and doing so phenomenally well. I mean, it took a huge hit in the first quarter, or let's say the second quarter of next year, first quarter meaning our financial year. But now you see that every market more or less is doing phenomenally well. When you talk about FMCG, I mean, everyone's got to eat, right? I mean, when you are talking about being at home all the time, I'm sure you're well stocked up with noodles. So everyone who was buying one packet of noodles initially is now buying one carton of noodles because you don't know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
So I think business is evolving. I think opportunities are evolving. It's how you look at the current situation and how you are able to mold yourself to adapt to these changing times. And that's what we have done. And we are, even as we speak, in these four sectors, we are looking at some major M&A opportunities. I mean, many people at this point in time are also distressed, looking at selling. But our business model is a little bit different because we believe we can get a very, very good value when we do an M&A right now.
Yes. I had a interview with the chairman of Bonds Group of company in the Hong Kong. He's running the a few $1 billion investment fund for family fund. He mentioned that he found a lot of distressed deal in the UK and US everywhere. It's like a huge deep discount, 50%. Like, so I think also the sooner or later we are going to see the liquidity driven investment opportunity, right? Fund that has a lot of money, but now they're a little bit cautious. But within a few months or a little bit more than that, they need to invest money because they have too much liquidity. Then is when you, like as you mentioned, your group has knows market very well, and then identified a very good opportunity. Then it will be good, great chance, I guess. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So how do you find the smart people for your business? I mean, this is a very big question because many people say that interviewing, looking for the people based on their background profile, very difficult, right, to find out the talent for the company. Another challenge I can imagine, because I work for the large international bank, large conglomerate all the time. But in order to grow the business quickly with a lot of new idea, that's one way to grow the business. The other is like a very operation-driven large company, usually conglomerate. Then they need very different talents, right? They're very different talented. Career professional who have fantastic background at a large company, they are good at running the operation-driven the company. But if you want to grow the business in a more frontier market and they're launching a lot of new business, may have a different skill set. So my question is, how do you identify, find the smart people for the growth of your business?
Actually, there is no issue finding good people today.
Too many.
And I'll tell you why. There are too many already. And unfortunately or fortunately, obviously, due to the process of scaling down for all countries and becoming more cost conscious, they have also scaled down on their talent, right? And their talent pool. And more so for let's say, many Nepalese around the world have come back from Nepal in every single sector. And that's actually true for every single country.
That's a unique situation. That is very.
So David, I don't think that there is a dearth in terms of availability of right talent. I think there are many available and more so now. Okay. Many more people and talented people that are available right now. I mean, you just have to, it's balancing what you are able to, what resources you are able to deploy to the right resources you can get. I think that's the balance you have to do because you don't want to land up in the same situation as previously, right? So talent pool is not an issue. But I can tell you that in short, that if you do want to grow and you want to be in multiple markets, you have to do that by having a very strong team on the ground. There is no doubt about it.
Yes.
Not only that, you also, if you're going to make an investment, you should also, in a different market that you don't know, you must find the right partner. Yeah. It's very, very important to find the right partner on the ground to be able to help you grow.
That's actually a big topic because every large company, when they enter the other market, other international local market, they are looking for the local partner. But that's a very difficult and challenging topic. They are looking for what is a good answer. They don't know. Usually looking for the large local company, but at the end of the day, they thought that they have a huge synergy working together or setting up the joint venture with the large local company. But at the end of the day, they don't have a synergy. They have a negative synergy. They don't respect each other. That happens a lot in the real world, right?
Well, absolutely. Sometimes too large is not too good,
Agreed.
And you have to be able to find synergies. Commercial aspects are one thing, but most important, as I always say, between partners is alignment of interest. Yep. There has to be complete alignment and there has to be a clear distinction of what each partner brings to the table. Otherwise, there is each of you bring your own expertise and knowledge and know-how, right? Otherwise, why are you partnering with anyone? Otherwise, you could have done everything yourself, right? So that's very important. Alignment of interest and clear differentiation in terms of expertise and roles and responsibilities is critical when you're talking about any successful partnership. Money is secondary. I mean, money comes in later.
Yes. Agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that point. Okay, my last question is what can we expect from you and the CG Group this year? And then what is your long-term vision for the group? I mean, in 10 years or more.
Well, I think I already touched upon the point of what you can look at from the group's perspective this year. For these 4 different sectors, as I mentioned, we are looking at multiple M&A opportunities, distressed, because distress is in the market at the moment, distressed owners and distressed businesses. And all these, we look at making some investments through M&A for all these 4 verticals within around the globe as well. So stay tuned, as they would call it.
Yeah.
I will obviously be in touch with you, and we can obviously touch base as and when we get more details. I will share with you when we have more clarity. But in terms of our vision, I mean, I'm happy to say proudly as well that we are probably the only multi-billion-dollar company from Nepal. And we hope to continue that growth trajectory and move towards our vision of at least reaching our target of 4 to 5 billion by 2025. So that is our vision.
Okay, sounds like the great plan.
Yes, no. We are working hard towards it. Obviously, like I said, times are tough, but it's what you make of it. So let's see.
Yes. Thank you so much taking time sharing the story about your group with my audience and the platform. And then I'm looking forward another chance to catching up with you again with a much bigger vision of the CG Group.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you to all your listeners and your audience for being patient to listen to a story of a humble company from a humble background. But
not at all. Yeah, it's my honor. It's my honor to have you on as a guest. Yeah.
Thank you so much, David. I look forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.